Okay, now if this is clear, now though not my thing, but I still want to ask you guys, because I'm teaching you and I really feel that whatever is important for you guys in the nervous system, you guys should be knowing that. Give me this one second. Is SEN? Okay, I got it. Thank you. Okay, so tell me now, yesterday and day before, you guys were taught sensory system, right? By two different teachers. What I listen. What I know, day one, I mean the day before yesterday, that was Miss Jeanette. I don't know her last name, right? The blonde girl. She's a new instructor here. And what I heard that she taught you guys about the taste and smell. Am I right? And in 2 hours, you guys learned that. Okay. And yesterday, when Miss Jewel was here, what did you learn?
Ear.
Just the ear. You guys are all clear about the ears. You did not touch eyes at all.
No.
And what did they tell you? That are they going to cover it later, or it's your self-study? Yeah. But you guys have a quiz on 28th. Monday, you guys have time. I was trying to squeeze in your class on Monday, coming Monday on 27th, and I was thinking that I will finish up this thing that I wrote on the board, and I could cover eyes too, because two main things are in this whole chapter: eyes and ears. Those are the main things. You learned about smell and taste. That's very good, but is it required? No, it's not required. Right? You just need to know what in the olfaction sense of smell. What is the nerve responsible for that? Olfactory nerve, that's cranial nerve 1, done. What is for the taste sensation? It is from the tongue. There are taste buds on the tongue. And what are how the sensations they are traveling? 3 cranial nerves, they carry that sensation, mainly 2 though, but 3 are they actually. So that you will be memorizing now in the cranial nerves, and you will understand that everything, nothing is there. Done. That is the taste sensation. If I am teaching you guys, right? Because my focus is on eyes, very important, and very important, and very important. I'm telling you guys, eyes. And then ears, obviously, very important. Right? Those are the main things that we do for this chapter, sensory. So ears, you guys are done. And now I'm concerned with the eyes, and eyes are a little bit something, little like, if I am lecturing, it takes more than an hour roughly, but it's a very detailed information, and you need to know that information. That's the problem. Right? You need to know that information. But if you guys can study by yourself and you can understand that, I will be more than happy to do that. But when I was trying to fit in on your Monday schedule, I am busy in the morning and then afternoon. I will be done on Monday at 3 p.m. I'm done. And I said that I can teach you guys 2 hours. I am okay, because I have 2 classes in the morning and then afternoon, 2 total. And then I can squeeze in 3rd class too. I don't mind it. I like to teach, right? But your schedule is calendar, it does not allow. You have a lab, and that lab is, according to your teacher, definitely it would be, it's a mandatory lab, and she cannot skip it. So I said, okay, I can't do anything. Though I have 2 hours on that day. On Monday, 3 to 5, I do have time. But you guys don't have time. That's the problem, always it happens, right? So that would be then, unfortunately, you guys are going to do it by yourself. I could have done it today, but then I don't want to get any blame that those students who are not here and they start complaining. Naveed was tutoring for math, and why did he teach anatomy that was supposed him to teach us that day?
They should have come in. Yeah. That's why we came in today.
There are, I know by face, I don't want to point out here, there, or there, or there. They, in front of me, when I was talking the same thing day before, they said that would not be fair if I'm teaching over here. And the student said he or she, they are not coming, but it will not be fair that if they are absent and I am teaching them, not tutoring them, on AM. So now I don't want to take any blame. Seriously, I don't want any complaint going to the office, and I don't want to get in any trouble. I'm sorry for that. No, I will not. Right? Because that would be putting my status at stake over here. I don't want to do that. Right? I still want to work till I get a good job. Then I'll do whatever, and they're gonna kick me out. I'm happy with that. But still, I don't have. Right? I am just teaching this class. Over here, I have a small adjunct professor. I am as well at Folsom Lake College. So that's it. I don't have anything else. Yes.
I think the frustration starts because a lot of people did drive out here to get it, and then but we didn't get any warning, not even an email. Just like from yesterday when we left, we're like, okay, cool. Mr. Naveed's coming to teach all of this, regardless who shows up, and then people can relay the information because that's what some people said, fair or not. But that's why some people like who live further away had to drive like an hour, 2 hours to get here, and then we're like, cool, now we get to teach it, and now it's just like.
Listen, miss, I am free. I just need 1 hour, like from 1 to 2 p.m. for the prayer. I have to go to the mosque. Otherwise, I can be with you guys from now till 5 midnight. I'm free. I have nothing to do. I'm telling you the truth. You tell me, I'm here. I have no problem. But another thing was told by the office, just I heard in the morning, I cannot keep you guys more than 2 hours. Believe me or not, it is instruction. Ask, if you don't trust me, ask Miss Roots. She told me that. I can't keep you guys more than 2 hours. So now I am so much kind of mentally as a what?
Honestly, we
I can't keep you for more than 2 hours.
the lecture honestly.
You guys want to sit down, keep sitting. I am supposed to leave in 2 hours out. So that you don't have anything to blame anybody. They just kept it without any attendance or anything, nothing like counted on anything. And why we are here.
I'm here voluntarily.
So see, you think that teachers are very easy life there? No, we are not. We are so much bound. From you guys, I'm telling you honestly, I'm talking about the students, right? And the office. So I have very much kind of limitations. Otherwise, I'm free, I told you. I can be here till midnight. Seriously, I have nothing to do today. I'm just free. Right? Nothing to do on computer, nothing, just watching my movie. I have started the show, The Monster, Eddie Story.
It's good.
I could barely watch 2 episodes yet, and I'm gonna continue that. That's it. So that's it. Nothing else I have to do today.
Well, I came to learn. I don't care if it's the nervous system or math.
Okay, let's decide one thing. Listen. So Anjali is your class representative, right? Let me follow her. And if any student tomorrow rise up and says that, Naveed, why did you teach? Ask Anjali. Now no blame goes on me. So whatever she decides, you guys talk, negotiate. I'm here. I am willing to do anything you want. I just want to teach you guys, want to make you successful. That's my goal. That's it. Nothing else. Anjali, you suggest or you can talk with each other. Because I don't want to get any blame, I'm telling you already. Please. So you can talk with her. Now, start a big fight. I want to see. Stand up.
Yeah, so if you guys want, I'm gonna be taking very detailed notes on everything that we're going over today. I can relay, like this right here, I'm also gonna be relaying it in our group chat with the students that aren't here, so that way they know what to study, and then whatever we go over, whatever you guys want, like it could be math, or if you guys wanna go over some more of the systems, I'm gonna be taking detailed notes and I'm gonna be sending it into the group, so that way they can kind of follow along with what we were talking about today.
I say let's go over the pyramid system.
Yes.
To everyone else's knowledge who's not here, we were gonna do it anyway. No one knows that it was gonna be changed. So I say they already know, they already chose. Let's just do it, and then people who either record or get the notes can send it to the group chat, and then they can have that.
Okay. And then are you guys okay on math?
Yes. There's another.
You said you had to finish the rest of that today, right?
I can keep coming for math. Don't worry about
Because we have
Yeah,
next
okay.
week too, guys. Next week we
Next
are
week is
also
there
here
too.
for your class. So I'm just saying, like, I
So
feel
yeah,
like
let's do it
if
focused
we
on
could at least
lecture.
get nervous system, something we do have a test on coming up, done, then math is something that we can just keep
We should just keep
easing
practicing.
in and keep going.
And then if you guys want, I can see if I can try to find some practice questions and maybe we can, set up a time as a class to practice on those questions if anyone needs.
it. You're talking about in math?
Yeah.
I am the person who will create, I mean.
Oh, okay.
I create for all the classes, I create practice math questions, practice worksheets, and I send them over, they do it, but only when I teach them.
Yeah.
Then they do it, they have any problem, I do take time to go in the classes and teach them. They reach out to me through email, hey Naveed, I did not understand this question, how do you do it? I do it on the email too, I do it always. So math, another thing, next Friday again I am here for tutoring. I don't know how many of you guys will be here. Actually the schedule was today is math 2 hours and next Friday 2 hours is A and P tutoring. If you guys okay, we can flip it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? We
Yes.
can flip, I don't mind it.
Right?
But just keep it between you and me. The office, right? The office are kind of thing. So I can do anything.
Okay. So A and B today?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So Anjali, nobody's gonna come after me, are you sure, from the students?
Yes. Nobody's gonna fight Dr. Smith today.
No, I'm not these people. People who are not here. I'm
Okay.
talking about them.
No, they won't
Make
fight.
sure. Then you'll see it.
Okay, sure about that? I got guarantee from all of you guys after class, I believe.
Yes.
Yes.
They'll have to go through me first.
Okay, that's good.
Me too. Are you doing video or? Oh my god. I was thinking I'm gonna ask Natalia to do a video and then. send
Okay,
it, but
friends,
I was like,
so
no, I
let's
need to be
start.
Physically here.
So we are going to learn about eyes, right? Sensory system, because those things that I put on the board earlier for the nervous system, they are simple. Nothing is rocket science. Trust me, I'm not in that. And you guys can do it. Eyes is something that you need to focus on. That is very, very important. That keep coming up, and then you will not be in trouble if you understand now, right? So we are talking about eyes. So eyes function, everybody knows, they are for the vision. We see through our eyes. Eyes are two eyeballs that we say. They are sitting in our on our face. And if you know that these eyes that we have, they are about 1 inch of the circumference they have. 1 inch. Right? 1 inch they are, each of them. And but only 1/6 that is you see on your face or anybody's face. That is visible. Only 1/6. The remaining 5/6 that is hidden in the skull. And you guys, if you imagine about the skeleton, the cranium, you see that there are holes for the eyes, right? And those holes, they are what we call them as orbital fossa. Okay, sometimes you will see they call it as ocular fossa. Okay, so the eyeballs, the remaining 5/6, they are fitted in that structure, the fossa. Remember, friends, that eyes, though they are sitting outside, you can see them. But remember, we take them as an internal organ. Eyes are taken as internal organs, and they are part of our nervous system, right? They are part of our nervous system. They are sitting over there. Now, what are certain important features of the eyes? Let's draw an eye and let's try to understand that. So this is an eye. And let's change the color over here a little bit so that we can understand this. So now, okay, so this is an eyeball that we are looking at. First thing we see, friends, that like I told you that eyes are internal organs, so they need a lot of protection because they're sitting outside. What are the protections that the nature gave us? One thing remember, the first everybody knows that we have eyelids, right? Eyelids. So I'm going to draw some eyelids over. So these are, friends, eyelids. Can you imagine that? Don't tell me this is a crab, okay? Okay. These are the eyelids, and you know that on the eyelids, what do we have? We have eyelashes. So these are the eyelashes. Okay, beautiful. Oh my gosh. Okay. Please don't actually don't send this picture to me. Okay. So eyelids with eyelashes. They are, right? So whenever I draw it, my kids, when they were young, when they see a crab or a lobster, they used to say one word. Oh, it's like pinchy pinchy bitey bitey. So to me, this is the pinchy pinchy bitey bitey, right? So these are the eyelids that we have. Now, eyelids, they do what, friends? They are protection. Why? How they are protection? One thing remember, that as we are going to learn, our eyes, some glands around the eyes, they are making a secretion. We call that as tears. We are going to learn about that, how they are made, because that is very important. So tears, when they are produced, when they come in front of the eyes, we blink and the tears, they spread all over the surface of the eyes. And with those tears, the eyes stay moist. Because if the eyes get dry, they can get damaged, right? The cornea that we are going to name it, it will get damaged. So tears, they keep our eyes moist. And how do they spread? Because of the blinking of the eyes that we continuously do. Okay, this is the one very important thing. Then we also see, friends, that whenever like you are in the outdoor and you are in the bright sunlight, you know that in that what happens, your eyelids, they kind of close much. Why do they close? So that less light can go in the eyes and it does not cause damage to the inner of the eyes. So to protect or limit the quantity of light entering in the eyes, eyelids, they kind of shrink. They become kind of close. Another thing we see, friends, that again, if you are in the outdoor and if you feel like in your field of vision some bug is flying to you, you involuntarily close your eyes, right? Again, it is what? It's a protection that we are looking at. That is happening with us, right? Now, another thing we see about the eyes, and to understand that, what we are going to do, we are going to draw an eyeball and we are going to talk about that from the front. So imagine, friends, that this is from the front now. So this is a beautiful eyebrow, right? This is the nose, and this is a beautiful eyes. Okay, right? So that is the eyes that we are looking at. Now, if you look at the eyelids, where they are meeting, now try to understand that. So this eyelid, upper and lower eyelid, they meet on the outer side, if I say, we call that as canthus. Okay. The meeting point of the eyelids is a canthus. So the one that is laterally, we call that as lateral canthus or temporal canthus, because it is on the temporal side. While the one that is on the nasal side, we call that as the medial canthus or nasal canthus, right? Medial or nasal, lateral or temporal canthus. Both combined, we call them as canthi. Combined canthi. Okay, so this is another important thing about the canthus or eyelids that we are talking about. Another thing is that is coming up in a while. So as we are here, friends, we see another thing. So there is one gland sitting over here, friends. So if you feel your eyebrow, you feel that it is right on the edge of that orbital fossa, right? This is the bone, and then behind is that cavity orbital fossa that is sitting over there. Do not try at home. I'm saying it, do not try at home, but if you put your finger on the lateral side and go under the bone, right? Don't try at home, please, right? If you go under the bone, we see that right over there is a gland sitting over here. Under the bone, above the eyeball, there is a gland sitting over there, and we call this gland as lacrimal gland. We call that as lacrimal gland. And this gland is producing tears, right? It produces tears. Now, when it produces tears, what happens? It sends those tears up on the front of the eyeball through certain ducts. Okay, through certain ducts it sends, and we call them as lacrimal ducts. Okay, those are the lacrimal ducts. They are, or better called canals, I believe so in your book says. So I'm going to put canal. I'm good with that. So lacrimal canals or ducts, whatever your book says, I'm good. So that tears are coming now on the front of the eyes, not in the eyes. Front of the eyes they are coming. Now we blink, they spread, and the eyes are moist. These tears, friends, they have that we are making, their job, one thing you remember now, moist, keep the eyes moist. Second thing, remember, they are the organic secretions, right? They protect the eyes. You know that if a tiny bug gets into your eyes, what happens? It dies. Why does it die? Because of the organic secretions of the tears that they are. Then we also see that these tears, friends, they are, as they are coming in front of the eyes and they spread with blinking, they are evaporated. They keep on evaporating, and they, with the external air temperature, they evaporate, and we never get kind of overflowing eyes until somebody became emotional, right? So whenever we become emotional, say like in that class, those were blaming us, 2 students, they failed the test today. See, it's a good revenge, retaliation, right? 2 students, they failed the test in that class. And now they are sad and they're crying and crying, and the tears are coming down and down. What happens? Now the tears are coming down. We say they're shedding blood now, right? They're so sad. See, this is high retaliate, man. Okay, then we see that these tears that they're coming, they take another route. What route they take? If you have ever seen in your own eyes, friends, that where the medial campus is in the eyelids, you will see there are very tiny holes up and down. If you have not seen them, see it today in a bright light. I'm going to make them bigger so that you can see, but they are very tiny, right? These tiny holes that they are sitting in the eyelids, we call them as punctum. Combined puncti, upper and lower, punctum, puncti. These puncti are, and then with these puncti, friend, what happens? They start 2 ducts over here, just like that. They start 2 canals, 2 ducts, they come, and we call them as now, again, lacrimal canals. I'm going to make over here ducts so that it becomes canals over here, right? So lacrimal canals, they came out, and now the tears are going in. And then what happens, right as they come out, there is one sac sitting over here, just like that. A sac, tiny sac sitting, and we call this sac as lacrimal sac. That is the lacrimal sac. Now the tears, they go in, and from there continues another duct that opens up in the nose. And we call this as our nasolacrimal duct. And now what happens, friends? The tears that are shedding, they go through the puncti into the nasolacrimal duct and into the nose. And you know that a person who is crying and crying, their nose starts running. Is it the nasal secretion coming from the nose? No, those are the tears coming from the nose, right? So that is how our tears, they are working in us. You understand that, friends? Right? Cool. So we are going to work on this same drawing that I did from the front just again in a while. But before that, let's come back over here and we see. We are still outside the eyeball, remember that? So we are continuing with that. Now we see that on the front of the eyes, we see that our eyeballs, they are covered by some thin transparent membrane. This is a thin transparent membrane. You guys can see where it is beginning. This is a thin transparent membrane that is covering the front of the eyeball. And then not only that, it runs on the inner surface of the eyelids too, just like that. It covers the inner of the eyelids too. This thin layer that we have, we call that as conjunctiva. That is called as conjunctiva, the thin, clear membrane that covers the front of the eyeballs and the inner of the eyelids. That is the conjunctiva. This conjunctiva is, friends, that it can get inflamed because of chemicals, bacterial, viral infections, and it turns inflammation. It becomes very red, and you know that we call that as pink eye, or we call that as conjunctivitis. Right? So the pink eye or the conjunctivitis is the inflammation of the conjunctiva that is sitting over there. Okay, if this is good, now we see, friends, that I drew on the front another thing, and this part that is kind of curved, and this is called as our cornea of the eye. That is the cornea of the eye. This is a part that is, you know that it is extremely sensitive. You can't touch it, right? It is so sensitive, you cannot touch it even, or it hurts. What is the job of this cornea, friends? When the light rays, like you're looking at the whiteboard and the lights are reflecting back in your eyes, the job of the cornea is it takes those light rays and straight throws them back inside the eyeball. Straightly go through the eyeball from the cornea, crossing it. Right? This is the job. Where does it go? We're going to talk about that. But before that, if you look at the cornea, friends, if I draw the cornea over here, you see that it has an extremely defined curvature. Extremely defined curvature it has, that you guys can see over here, right? And this curvature, beauty of this curvature is that it lets the light rays go straight back. But in some people, mostly by genetics, what happens? The loss of this curvature happens. Their curvature is not like that, and that curvature becomes something like that. Now this is the cornea. When it is, now what will happen? When the light rays will touch this, they don't have anything to go straight, so they get kind of straight. They just go randomly. What do we call this condition, by the way? Say it again. No. You guys would have heard definitely if I tell you. No. Astigmatism. Astigmatism, right? When the cornea lost its curvature, right? The light rays, see now they are randomly going anywhere. This is the astigmatism that some people, they have it.
That's why stoplights look like stars. When at nighttime when you're driving,
Yeah.
you look at the stoplight and it just
It's-
looks like a burst.
That is
It's
correct.
not a solid-
You have astigmatism?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a solid round
It's
light,
not solid.
It looks like a burst.
It's like a flare going all around. I know. Right? So that is the, yep. So that is our cornea. So we are still outside, friends. There is one more thing that we want to talk about. You guys know that we are moving our eyeballs all the times, right, left, up, down, everywhere. How our eyeball is moving. We see, friends, that on the surface of the eyeball, so say like this is an eyeball sitting, on the surface there are certain muscles attached outside. You can't see them. They are inside, I mean, the that fossa. So imagine this is one muscle, this is one muscle, this is one muscle. These are attached over here on the surface of the eyeball outside. These muscles, friends, that we are looking at, we call them as extraocular muscles. Extraocular muscles, we call them, right? Each muscle has a name. Yes, this drawing. What page number it is?
It's 246.
246 page. If you guys have a book, 246, you will see those muscles sitting over there outside the eyeball. These are known as extraocular muscles, and these muscles are, I told you, they are how many on each eye of the surface? 6 of them. There are 6, but and each muscle has a name. But you don't need to memorize those names, right? Just be familiar. There are 6 muscles. And one more important thing that you need to remember, as you guys will be memorizing the cranial nerves, remember the cranial nerve 3, 4, and 6. They are supplying these muscles. Cranial nerve 3, 4, and 6. They supply extraocular muscles. Yes.
There are 6 extraocular muscles per eye.
Per eyeball. That is correct. Right? But right and left, so they call them as a pair, right? 6 on the right, 6 on the left. And all these 3 nerves, right side they supply and the left side they supply 3 nerves. And don't forget these numbers, right? And you will see in the description when you will see that. Okay? So we were in the outside the eyeball, and we are done with the outside. Let's jump into the inside of the eyeball now. Can I erase some part over here, friends? If you guys okay?
And it's 136, right?
3, 4, 6. Cranial nerves. Cranial nerve 3, cranial nerve 4, cranial nerve 6. These are the nerves, they supply these 6 muscles on each side. Okay. So as we get into the eyeball, friends, what are the main things that they are sitting over there? Now this might be a little confusing. Let me know anything that is not understandable. I can explain that again and again, but you need to understand and memorize those things, what we are going to talk about. As we get into the eyeball, friends, what the first thing that we see, that there is one clear hanging structure over here. A clear hanging structure is sitting over there, and this structure is, we call that as our lens of the eye. That is the lens of the eyes. Okay, the hanging structure, the lens of the eyes. This structure is, friends, that it is very, very important structure. What is the job of this structure? Now look at this one, and you will understand hopefully. So the light rays, they touch this cornea like that, right? Cornea, let it go in the eyes, and these light rays, they get into the lens. When they get into the lens, what happens? This lens job is that it focuses those light rays on a given point on the back of the eyeball, where we are going to talk about that as we get to that point, right? The job of the lens is to focus the light rays on the back of the eyes on a specific point. Specific point. Name, we'll learn that later, right? So that is the job of the lens. Now this lens is, friends, that continuously it is changing its shape. So right now, if I drew that like that one, this is the shape of the lens. Call it a fat shape. Those students who have studied physics in their school and college, what do we call this shape, by the way? Anybody knows? Who studied physics? Okay, it's fine. We call that as convex, right? This is the convex shape. And what happens now, like you are reading the book, I am looking at the book, and then I suddenly look across the road through the window, the lens will change its shape. How it will become? Now look at this one. It may become this way, thin, right? It's not fat anymore. When it is, we call that as concave. That's the concave shape, right? So this is how, friends, our lens, they are continuously, changing their shape. How does it change its shape? That's very important to remember now, right? So we see, friends, inside our eyeball, we have certain muscles, just like that, and they are attached with the lens like that, and just like from here, they are attached over here. These are the muscles, and these muscles are, we give them a name, they are called as ciliary muscles. Those are the ciliary muscles. Now, what happens with these muscles, friends? Now, whenever we are trying to look around here and there, far and near, these muscles, when they will contract, so this muscle is contracting, this is contracting, they will pull the muscle and it will become long, concave shaped. And when these muscles they relax, they let go, the muscle will become fat again. Right? It became fat again. So that is the shape of the shape of the lens is continuously changing, and this change that is happening, change in the, I'm gonna put over here, so that we and this will keep adding in that, right? Change in the shape of the lens. That happened, and we are gonna add another thing just in a while as we get there. We call that all as our accommodation. So when I say accommodation, the eyes they do accommodation. The first thing is that is a change in the shape of the lens. You got that, friends? Right? How the lens becomes fat and skinny, convex and concave. That is happening. That is a change in the shape. We call that as accommodation. One part. There is another part that will be coming up. Now, as you are looking at, friend, now try to understand what we are talking, because the things are going to be a little bit kind of tricky over here, right? Now, what happened when the lens came in? Now you can see that this whole eyeball it got divided into two divisions. One division that is up front, this one, and a division that is all the way back, this one, right? These are called as the cavities. Now remember that the cavity from the back of the cornea to the front of the lens. You see this one, friends? All this cavity from the back of the cornea to the front of the lens that developed, we call this cavity as anterior cavity, also called as segment. Anterior cavity or anterior segment, we call it. While on the back of the back cavity that we say, now if we can say that from the back of the lens to the back of the eyeball, hold this kind of bigger cavity that developed over there, we call this as posterior cavity. We also call that as posterior segment. Okay, so these two big cavities, first thing they developed. Okay, if this is good for you guys, now we are going to stop for this thing and we are going to go back on the front again. The front of the eyeball that we are looking at, because there is a lot of things to talk. Not a lot, few. Let's see that what they are. We see, friends, that when I'm looking right in the middle of the eye, the rounded part, you see the top is the cornea, that is clear membrane, you cannot touch it. But behind that, what is there? That is the color of your eyes, right? Like I have brown, some have blue, some have gray, some have green kind of things. This color of the eyeball that we have, how it is? It is because there is a muscle sitting over here. So this is a muscle sitting over here in there. This muscle that is sitting actually, if I draw it over here, so this is the muscle, this is called as iris. That muscle is called as iris. And now this muscle is a colorful muscle. If your eyes are blue, your muscle is blue colored. I have brown colored muscle, my eyes are brown, right? So now this muscle is, friends, that is in not one muscle like a solid muscle, it is like in layers, just like that. So iris is just like in layers. And not only that, it is in these directions as well. Like a cobweb, think like, this is the muscle, that is the iris. And you guys can see right in the middle that the dark spot that all of us we have, we call this dark spot as our pupil. That is the pupil, right? Now these muscles, the irises, friends, that it continuously, it contracts, it relaxes, it contracts, it relaxes. What happens with that? With the contraction and relaxation, the pupil becomes what? It becomes narrow or dilated. It becomes narrow or dilated depending upon where we are. So if we are in the bright sunlight, you know that your pupil becomes very thin, very tiny. Why? to avoid excessive light going in the back of the eyes to cause damage in that, right? But you might have observed that when you are in the dark, in the dim light, the pupils, they become very much dilated. Why? To get more and more light so that you can see in the dark. When this is happening, friends, that all this phenomenon of the pupil getting tiny or dilated, narrow or open, we give that condition, we call that as the change in the shape of the, what do you call that? Change in the size of the pupil. That is happening. Now, this is also part of our accommodation. Two things, do not forget them, please, right? So, accommodation is what? One thing is that there is change in the shape of the lens from convex to concave, fat to thin. And second thing is the size of the pupil, narrow or dilated. These both things are called accommodation. And another thing, remember, that all this phenomenon that is happening, it is controlled by, again, cranial nerve 3. It is controlled by cranial nerve 3, and you guys will study that. We call that as oculomotor nerve. Oculomotor nerve, we call that, the cranial nerve 3. And that is responsible for the accommodation in the eyes. Do not forget that. Got that, friends? Tell me any confusion in that so far. If this is good, now we continue with that, right? Now you are looking at the lens from the front, not the lens, I'm sorry, the iris muscle from the front, right? Now when it is fitted in the eyes, like the way we have drawn over there, you guys can well imagine, friends, that now looking from the side view, this is the iris muscle. Alright? This is the iris muscle now. You will be looking like that. From the side view, this is the iris muscle, and you see this is the pupil in between. Make sense, friends, right? When this iris muscle came in the where? In the anterior cavity, you know what happened? It divided this whole anterior cavity into further two divisions. It divided. How? Now look at this one. The one of the division of the cavity from the back of the cornea to the front of the iris. You see this hole up front of the iris, this cavity that developed? We call this as anterior chamber. That is the anterior chamber, we call that. Hold this from the back of the cornea to the front of the iris. In the anterior cavity, we have anterior chamber. Likewise, when we look behind the iris, so from the back of the iris to the front of the lens. Now this is the anterior cavity again, but now behind the iris, this cavity that developed, we call this as posterior chamber. That is the posterior chamber. Okay, so this is very, very important. Remember that, right? So the anterior cavity got divided into two chambers because of the iris placement. Anterior chamber, posterior chamber. Two chambers they were made. Try to be very clear about this thing. Now, we see, friends, that inside this eyeball, where this ciliary muscle is sitting, right over there in the posterior chamber, there are certain cluster of blood vessels sitting. These ones. The cluster of blood vessels they are sitting, and we call this cluster as ciliary body. That is called as ciliary body. These are very tiny blood vessels they are sitting over there. These blood vessels, friends, they are making a special fluid. They are making a special, very special fluid that is coming, we are going to name it, that does what, friends? It fills the posterior chamber in the anterior cavity. It filled the posterior chamber first, and then what happens? Through the pupil, that fluid comes in the anterior chamber, and now it is filled. So the ciliary body, the blood vessel collection, it made a fluid that filled the posterior chamber of the anterior cavity that flew from through the pupil into the anterior chamber of the anterior cavity, and now it is full. This fluid that is being made, friends, we give it a name, and we call this as aqueous humor, Humor. Aqueous humor, we call that. Friends, remember that this is a fluid that is very clear, just watery fluid, very clear, right? And second thing, this fluid is continuously being made 24/7, every second it is being made by the ciliary body. If you are sleeping, it is being made, right? Every time it is being made, and when it is being made, it means that it should be filling the eyeball, the anterior chamber and the posterior chamber, and it should blow up because it is continuously being made. That does not happen. Why? Because nature knew it and nature put a plan over there, a drainage plan over there. So what happened? Right over here where the iris is, nature have put certain hole, a tiny hole. I'm going to make it bigger so you see. A tiny hole nature put over there, and we call this hole, that opening, we call it as canal of Schlemm. The canal of Schlemm, we call that. And now what happens? Aqueous humor produced over there in the ciliary body, in the posterior chamber, through the pupil, came in the anterior chamber, goes down, it drains through the canal of Schlemm, goes in the blood circulation, and now the production and drainage, they are balanced, and the pressure in the eyeball is maintained. It is not less, it is not high, we are good. But sometimes it does happen that the drainage, that is, it is blocked. When it is blocked, production is there. So what will happen? The fluid will start building up in the eyes, and then a disease occurs, and somebody named that disease earlier. When the pressure in the eyeball is increased, what do we call that? That is glaucoma, right?
The fluid is what's causing that cloudy look?
No, the cloudy is cataract. That we are going to talk about that,
Okay.
right? This is the glaucoma. Okay? So pressure in the eyeball is increasing because aqueous humor being produced but not being drained much. So it will start building up. Glaucoma, the condition that will develop. Remember, friends, like I told you, it is always being made freshly. Every moment it is being made aqueous humor. Okay, but if it is clear, let's see on the back side, in the posterior cavity, what's going on. In the posterior cavity, friends, again, there is one fluid, not actually a fluid, think like a gelatinous material, like a jello. It is filled in the posterior cavity, right? This jello in the posterior cavity that is sitting there, we call that as our vitreous humor. Maybe your book says vitreous body, both are the same thing, no problem, right? Vitreous humor or vitreous body, that is filling in the posterior cavity, posterior segment of the eyeball. Remember, friends, that you and me, whatever we have this vitreous body in our eyes, you know, it was made when we were in our fetal life. When in a fetus, the eyeball develops, this vitreous humor is developed, and now it is gonna be sitting there, baby is delivered, he lived for 100 years, 500 years, vitreous humor is of the same age. It never replenished, it never renew at all, right? So if you are 25 years old per se, so probably your vitreous humor or vitreous body is 25 years, maybe 4 months old, right? 25 years and 4 months old it is, right? It is so old, this thing is, and it is gelatinous that is sitting over there. What is the job of both of these fluids, friends? If I say, their job is that two are there. Remember and do not forget. One is they maintain the shape of the eyeball, right? They keep it round. And the second thing, the very next topic we are going to begin, those are the layers of the eyeball. These fluids, they keep those layers stick together. If think like there is no fluid, the layers that they are making, we are going to learn now, they're going to start falling down. So they hold the layers of the eyeball and they give shape to the eyeball. This is the job of both of these fluids that we are looking at. You got that, friends? We are almost done, friends, really. Like 10-15 minutes, the eye will be done.
So they hold the shape.
They maintain the shape of the eyeball and they hold the layers of the eyes together. Okay. Both of them, you can say. Okay, cool. So now, friends, one thing that like you guys were asking, and I did not even mention that previously, but just let's see that. So you remember this is the lens of the eyeball, right? That is the lens. This lens is, friends, typically, I'm not saying always, I'm saying typically as we age, this becomes, it does not stay clear, it starts turning cloudy, right? Whitish it becomes. And you know that in elderly people, as they get more and more older, their vision is very much affected, and you can see sometimes through their pupil the white spot inside. When the lens becomes opaque, not clear anymore, milky white, that condition is called as cataract. So cataract is related with the lens, right? Glaucoma, you understand, it is because of the drainage problems of the aqueous humor. You understand that, friends, now, right? Cool. So we are just left now 10-15 minutes. We are talking about the layers of the eyeball. Few important things that will be done. Can I erase most part from here, please? Okay. Okay, friends, now we are going to talk about the last topic over here, and that is the layers of the eyeball. Now, first thing, remember, you know that I talked about first conjunctiva, that is the clear membrane on the front of the eye, but make sure conjunctiva is not the layer of the eyeball. No. I'm saying again, the conjunctiva that we studied, it is not the layer of the eyeball. It's just a cover on the front. Think like, not a layer. We are talking about the layers now. So the first layer of the eyeball, friends, that we see is, I'm drawing it blue that you guys can see, but this one is the white of the eyes. Like you see in your eyes of somebody, the white part that is this part that is sitting, and we call that as the sclera. Sclera, aka white of the eyes. Okay. The sclera, the outermost layer of the eyeball. Remember, sclera is a tough membrane. It's a tough membrane, and it also contributes in maintaining the shape of the eyeball. It's a tough membrane. Maintain the shape of the eyeball. That is the job of this. Okay. If this is good, then we go inside and we see the second layer. And now under this sclera, we see that we have the second layer that is going just like that. So this is the second layer of the eyeball inside the sclera we are looking at. Now this layer is, friends, first thing we call that as choroid. This layer is choroid. Choroid, remember, friends, and do not forget that it is a highly vascular layer. I'm going to put over there. Highly vascular. It has too many blood vessels, and those blood vessels are that they supply the eyeball. Highly vascular choroid that is supplying blood supply, nutrition, oxygen to the eye tissues. That is the choroid layer, right? Highly vascular layer. You can call it as the middle layer of the eyeball, right? I'm going to put over there too. So this is also the middle layer of the eyeball. Okay, if this is good, Then we have an innermost layer, the third layer. And what is that third layer? Let us see that. So the third layer is sitting right inside the innermost layer, that is sitting just like that. Right? This is the innermost layer of the eyeball, and we call this as our retina. This is the retina. This retina that we have, friends, basically this is the main part of the eyeball, because you guys remember that when the light rays they pass through the cornea, then that got into the lens, and lens brought it in the back of the eyeball. First thing for now, remember that light rays, when they entered in the back of the eyeball, they are put everywhere on the retina. Everywhere on the retina they are going. In the retina, friends, we see that we have certain specialized receptors. We call them as, or specialized nerve endings, we call them as photoreceptors. Light receptors, you want to call them? Photoreceptors we have in the retina. What kind of photoreceptors? There are two that you need to remember. One is cones and one is rods. Cones and rods. Two type of receptors, photoreceptors, they are sitting on the retina. What is their job? Now don't forget, cones are for your daylight vision. They are responsible for the daylight vision and also for our color vision. Daylight vision and color vision. Those are the cones. And when we talk about the rods, remember they are for night vision, or we also call that as dim light vision. Dim light, right? Low light vision, night vision, we also call that. So those are the two rods and cones. Now, one thing is, I told you, they are all scattered on the retina, but all the way back, friends, on the retina, there is one special spot over there. We have a very special spot, and we call that as macula. That is the macula. Remember, friends, that macula has the highest percentage of rods and cones. The max rods and cones, they are sitting on the macula. They are all over the retina. But on the macula, that's the max percentage that is sitting over there. So now you remember that when the lens, they got that light, they focus these all on where? The focus on the macula. That is the highest point over there, right? So all the light rays, most I mean to say, they are focused on macula because it has the most cones and rods. Now think what happens. So now these macula, what does it do, friend? It converts the light rays into electrical current. That is converted into electrical current. And that electrical current is given to a specialized point on the back of the eyeball, just like that. This one, that I'm going to make it like that. It is given to this point, and that is called as our optic disc. That is our optic disc. Now the light rays will be going from the macula and overall retina into the optic disc. And from the optic disc begins all the neurons. These are the neurons. And what are they making? They are making a nerve. A nerve begins, and we call that as our optic nerve. That is our cranial nerve 2. Okay, the optic nerve, then these electrical signals, they travel through the optic nerve. Where do they go? Occipital lobe, right? That electrical current is going in the occipital lobe. Now occipital lobe will process it, and now you are able to see, this is a whiteboard, these are the colors, and this is written word, right? That's the main processing center. Now this optic nerve that we have, friends, that it has neurons. By the way, just a fun fact, you don't need to remember, nobody's going to ask you. Do you know that how many neurons are in one optic nerve? Do you remember how many nephron we have in one kidney? 1.2 million nephron in one kidney. Now, interestingly, the fun fact is the optic nerve is made of 1.2 million neurons, each nerve. There are 1.2 million neurons in one and then one, and they are traveling in the back, in the occipital lobe. We are able to see that. Okay. So that finishes up our eyes. Done. I told you it's gonna take like an hour or less than that. We'll be good. Yes.
I have one question.
Yes.
The light rays go from outside through the cornea to the lens, to the macula, then optic disc, optic nerve, and where from there?
Occipital lobe. Right? Now, because in the macula, the light rays they turn into electrical signals, electrical current. Right? Yes. Electrical current will go to the disc, to the nerve, and then occipital lobe. Okay, friends. All good? All good? Isn't it interesting? I like this structure, man. It's very interesting. Mysterious. They're mysterious.
Yes.
Okay, okay. So now what do we do? Math
Yes.
or anything else? You tell me. Say it again. You guys decide. I'm okay. Anything.
That's the end of the nervous system, right? That's all we were missing.
The one part that I put on the board already, you know that the peripheral nervous system, nerves that you're gonna study. This is part of the sensory system. Again, part of the nervous system, obviously.
Okay.
Ears, you guys are done. Eyes is here.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah. So you will be tested on all that, and nerves, and this, and the ears. One exam.
Okay.
I think 4 chapters it makes.
Four
perhaps.
chapters.
Yeah.
4, right? Yes.
Does you went over the eyes? Any questions we have on the eyes? Did you make the questions